The trade deadline is officially behind us. All the trades, I guess, have been made so far. There's still some details we're waiting on. I don't know how long the queue is going to be going backed up for, but it's 4:48 Eastern time, and I feel like the biggest dominoes have fallen. It's Luca, it's Jesse, it's Pac. We've been here all day long with you. As you can see on the table, we've got a tier list that we did on our live stream all day long of ranking the best to the worst for every team trade season in its entirety. So not just what they did on trade deadline day, but we're here now to talk winners and losers. Let's start with the focus on trade deadline day alone. I think we go 2 winners each, we go 2 losers each of who excited us with their moves, or maybe even just with staying pat, and who disappointed us with maybe not doing enough or doing too much. Pac, let's start with you. Who is your first winner?
First winner of the day. It's a nice question. I'm gonna talk. Is it just today, or can we talk about the last couple?
So we're gonna just
deadline period, or just today.
We're just gonna do. I guess you can go back the past couple of days.
Okay.
Like, let's make it this week, but then we'll also do a winner and a loser each of just trade season overall, because there have been so many big moves that we didn't get to fully realize their impact until now, and now that all of the dominoes have fallen, I feel like that's a good way to break it up. But yeah, this week, not just like singularly today. I think yesterday counts, the day before that counts.
Well, these guys have kind of had a roller coaster of a week, and that's the St. Louis Blues right here. It's tough when your best player, one of your best players, is in trade talks, and Robert Thomas. That is a tough thing to kind of handle. Should we trade him? Should he not? He's got a lot of term left. He's got a great contract. He's under contract for a while. I think they handled this situation in the correct way by not moving Robert Thomas. I think they're going to look back at that, whether they want to keep him for the foreseeable future, or they can always trade him in the offseason. I thought that was smart. Get more information, take all the time you need. They were dealt another curveball when Colton Parayko said, I don't want to go to Buffalo. Yet they still managed to do well on the assets that they gave up. Getting a first and a third from the Red Wings from Justin Falk, great trade. Getting a first round pick plus more from the Islanders for Braden Shen. I know it's your captain, it's a tough piece to part with. I thought that was a great trade by St. Louis. They kept Binnington, a guy that they can still move off from. So the players that they didn't have urgency to move because they weren't UFAs, they didn't move, so they can still cash in on those assets. And I thought they did a really good job taking advantage of the value of Shen, of Falk. They can kind of rebuild, build their prospect pool. And I think I'm very curious to see how they address this offseason through the draft, through free agency, through other trades they make. I expect they'll eventually deal Binnington. If they trade Robert Thomas, it's going to be one of the bigger packages we've seen in a while. I like what the Blues did as sellers today.
And it's crazy to think that they even could have gone more if they partnered with Parayko. They would have gone a really nice haul for Parayko. But obviously Parayko extending his right to his legal right to say, no, I'm not doing that. So I think for me, a winner, and they didn't make that many moves, but the move that they did make, I really, really liked. I'm going to go with the Anaheim Ducks. I really think that, you know, this is a team that seems like it's ready to take the next step, and they proved that today. And they got a really highly offensive, veteran leader, so well respected by Capitals players. How many Caps players have we seen come out today being like, John Carlson was the best teammate, such a leader? You add that to that group in Anaheim. Now John Carlson's gonna get to go to Disneyland with his kids every day in California.
He's definitely not gonna be doing that every day.
It's just like it was.
I think he'll do it at least 3 times a week.
But honestly, I think
might not do it once.
I think. Well, they're definitely going to go to Disneyland at least once. Come on. He's got young kids.
Is it Disney World or Disneyland?
It's Disneyland.
Disneyland.
So, okay, but on a serious note, like, they gave up a first, right, and a third. Are they both conditional as well?
I will check on that for you, but
and I actually don't think they are. I think it's just a first and a third. And I think that Anaheim can afford to make this trade. They've got some really good defensive prospects in their system already, so they don't have to worry about losing a pick. And Carlson, I would imagine that's a player that they're going to try to extend and keep there. He's going to be able to help their power play out. And talk about a guy who's going to be able to help them in a playoff run. You can make the argument that Anaheim is the best team in the Pacific Division. Like, this team could honestly be. This team could make a run. There's no reason to think that they might not be able to. So, I just think that was a move I really liked today. I didn't think they had to do much, but with the one move that they did make, I thought they hit it out of the park.
I completely agree with you, and I think it's fascinating what they're going to do on the power play with Lacombe and Carlson. You have a couple of really good options now, which is very nice, the versatility. And they're pushing for a Pacific Division title here. It's not just they're pushing for a wild card spot. So to take a swing like that, I think it's a very measured swing for them. It's a conditional first as well. But unlike other teams that we kind of saw in this similar position as Anaheim, I think this swing was very measured, very calculated, as opposed to being a little reckless. And there's a team that we're going to talk about in a bit about that in that kind of way. Now that this trade's official, I'm going to go with the Colorado Avalanche as my first winner. I think obviously the fit made sense going into the deadline. I think Montreal and Colorado were the two teams that you heard most for Kadri, and at the buzzer, they get it done. They find a way to get Kadri. They find a way for Calgary to retain 20% of that contract, which is really nice for them. They move out 1.5 in Olofsson. I know you've given up 2 first-round picks and a second in this trade deadline period, and a couple seconds actually with the Kulak deal. But look, when you're all in and you have the best team in the league by a pretty healthy margin right now, and you have some of the best players in the world, this is the cost of being in that position, is that your prospect pool is not going to be a thing, but this is what you get with it. You get to be the favorite. You get to be the team that everyone is looking at like, this is the team that is the most complete team on paper now. They have the best chance of winning the cup. The center group is incredible, where you have McKinnon and Drury, and you could put Nicolas Watt at center on the wing. Bednar talked about today playing wing. You've got Kadri. You've got Brock Nelson. Like the center group for this team is so deep, and I think probably the best in the NHL if I had to guess. Getting a piece like Kadri is really nice too, because it's not like there's going to be any chemistry issues. It's a guy that has won a cup with this team, had so many big playoff moments. So I think in totality, I look at those two moves, and yes, again, they did give up a lot for it, but this is the price of getting better. The teams around them in the Central got better, but they got even tougher to play against with Kadri and Waugh specifically. I know Olofsson kind of comes out of the lineup, but this also gives way for players kind of coming off of injury for this team as well. Logan O'Connor hasn't played all year. Lekkonen's out week to week, but should be back before the regular season. So this lineup is only going to get better with the players on injured reserve right now, or day-to-day or out. And I'm just really excited to see Kadri back in an Avs jersey. I know he's pumped. He was talking about receiving texts from Landeskog and McKinnon. He's already talked to them about it. He was sweating a little bit there. I didn't think it was going to get done. I was pretty happy with Waugh on its own, because I think that makes them tougher to play against, and Kulak has looked really good. So I think that move really does solidify the Avs as the winners here of the day, in my opinion, and they are the team to beat without question in the NHL right now. I don't even think it's close, even with what Minnesota has done, what Dallas has done, and what some of the teams in the East have done. So that's my first winner of the day.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jesse.
Just say, like, how cool is it? I mean, I know we were saying it before we started filming, but getting the band back together, like, it just is going to feel like deja vu for these guys. They seem like they had such a special group when they won the cup, and now you add Kadri back in there. It's like, I don't know. I think there's a lot of reason to be excited right now as an Avalanche fan.
I think so too.
I think Calgary had a really good day in terms of how they kind of managed their assets.
Do you think they're a
good
winner?
week.
Do you think
I think they're a winner, but also like the Avalanche in terms of that specific trade. When talking about these two teams, I'm impressed with the deal in terms of, I thought Kadri would have gone for more. I know the contract goes until he's 39, and that's obviously something to kind of frighten teams. But this is what you do when you're the best team in the NHL. This is what you do when your best players are in their prime. And I salute a team like Colorado that's having the season that they're having for continuing to go all out. They did it last year by going for Brock Nelson. Just keep doing that every single time. And then there's other teams that I applaud who are good, like the Montreal Canadiens, for not doing anything because your best players aren't in their Cale Makar, Nathan McKinnon windows of their career yet, where keep building your prospect pool, keep building with draft picks, have a young team. That way, 4 years from now, when Montreal's hopefully where the Avalanche are, that's when they can go all out at the deadline every day. So there's teams in different situations that can all still win. So Calgary as sellers thought they had a great day. Thought the Uyghur trade, offloading Kadri.
Well, do you want to give him
Getting
a
a couple young, I'll put them in
winner
winger too. Even getting a guy like Brendan Othman, someone who is a low risk buy. He is a bit more of an instant impact guy where you move Jacob Battaglia for him, who should be a good player as well, a second round pick. But I like that move from Calgary. They got young, like, that's not a move to get younger, but it's like it helps their young core immediately while also capitalizing on guys like Uyghur and Kadri and getting good returns in that aspect. So I like what Calgary's doing. I like their ability to continue to build young players, accumulate a lot of draft picks, and really just hopefully you have a couple strong drafts. They have so much draft capital coming up that things go well for them.
Do you wish they would have done a little more? Did you want to see them move Blake Coleman as well? He's one of the only guys kind of, and he's got
a year left.
It's not like he's going away, but
he'll probably be on the move at the next deadline or early next season.
Probably.
So
and
just
now you
with
can
the
add
direction
Ryan
going.
Strome to that mix as well. Morgan Frost potentially if you don't see him as kind of part of your future. You mentioned the draft capital, so they have 2 first-round picks in every draft from this year to 2028. They have 4 seconds this year, 2 thirds, and then 2 seconds in 2027 and 2028. I imagine they're not going to use all of those players, but what a haul.
It's more shots at the dartboard for Calgary. Second round picks are very valuable. You can even turn those second round picks into players like they just acquired Brendan Othman. The Habs did that when they got Alex Newhook. They used 2 second round picks to grab a guy like Alex Newhook, who's a great impact player at the NHL level. So Calgary is going to have, they've bought themselves time, they've bought themselves assets. Now they can go back to the drawing board, collect all the information that they need, and decide how they're going to deploy and kind of strike in their rebuild.
I really do applaud Craig Conroy for the work he's done. It's not easy coming into a situation where, look, Calgary's been trading their best players since Matthew Tkachuk, right? Like it's been really tough to watch that team piece by piece kind of, they've been forced, their hand has been forced in so many ways to trade these good players, but to see what they've been able to do with this situation that they've been given is very impressive, and I hope that the return on investment for a lot of this turns into them being a playoff contender for years to come like they were in their prime, and that was awesome to see. The Sea of Red was rocking, so hopefully this is the start of that. Who is your second winner, Jess, that you want to point out?
You know what? Like in terms of just today, what we saw?
Or the last few days.
Or, okay, well, yeah, I mean, the last few days, I guess, changes things a little bit. Like, again, I think the Wild are up there for a reason, but that had to do more with, like, Quinn Hughes. I do like some of the moves that they made as well, though. I think, you know what? Honestly, I really didn't mind what the Capitals did today, if I'm being honest. Like, I thought getting Liljegren for a 4th-round pick was, like, not bad work. I thought getting a 1st and a 3rd was great. But if I'm talking about just, like, really, like, the past couple of days or the past 24 hours, I mean, call me crazy, guys. Call me a homer. I don't really care. I thought the Jets did a pretty good job. Like, I think they did some good work. I think, I know we mentioned it on the live stream. If you told Jets fans that they'd be getting a player like Isaac Rosen who could, the Jets desperately need some depth help, and he could step into potentially the second line next year or in that middle 6, and they'd get a 2nd pick and a 4th to move Logan Stanley, who everyone thought was a bust going into this season. He's had a great year. And then Luke Shen, who really just was not doing anything for the Jets. I think that you'd say that that's some good work. They also managed to move Pearson out. They just got a 7th, but it's better than nothing, right? And I think that the Jets are kind of sending a message that they're kind of going to be retooling for years to come. Thought all things considered, Chevy did a good job. That's some good work by the Jets. And if they're going to make some more moves, they're going to do it in the offseason. But I think as far as what they were dealing with in the deadline, he got some good return.
I agree with you there. I definitely agree with you there. My last winner I kind of want to shout out is a team that's fighting for a playoff spot right now. It's the Utah Mammoth. I think Mackenzie Weegar, and I mean, you have to give up 3 second-round picks to get him, but he's not a rental. He's under contract for a while. The cap number is good. Yes, he's 32, but I think his game is going to age really well. And I think he immediately steps in and fills a massive void that team is looking for. He's a guy that can do it all as a defenseman. Great first pass. He can break the puck out. He's a good skater. He can chip in offensively. He blocks a ton of shots. He's physical, good in his own end of the ice. I think maybe there are some bigger mistakes that he makes on the rare occasion that have people maybe feeling a certain way about who he is overall as a player, but I would love a Mackenzie Weegar on my team. I think most fans would agree with that. And so for Utah to get that without giving up a first-round pick, without having to give up a prospect, I think is pretty great work for them. And it's someone that's going to be a part of your team for the future. It's not just for this year as you make a push to the playoffs. And he immediately becomes a very important piece of this playoff puzzle for them. So I really like the swing that they took. It's the only swing that they took, really, but it's an impactful one, and I think the most impactful one of all the defensemen that got traded. I think maybe Justin Falk for the Red Wings is up there potentially in that mix as a top 4 guy that was acquired. Maybe Logan Stanley as well as another name that Sabres fans might point to as a real impact defender that was traded. But I think Weegar, out of all the defensemen that were traded, is set to have the biggest impact on a potential playoff team and can change a team's fortunes.
Maybe Carlson.
And maybe Carlson as well. You're right.
The only thing with Weegar is you get the 3 years
exactly.
of him with the term, whereas Carlson's are more of a rental in the UFA.
Carlson's older.
Yeah.
And Carlson's older.
I love Mackenzie Weegar. I think he's one of the more underrated players in the NHL. This is a guy who's been doing things at a high level for a really long time. And Jesse, you nailed it on the podcast that we did earlier this week. You said Utah needs that right-handed puck-moving defenseman to kind of give them a bit of a boost in the back end, especially on the offensive side. And I think Weegar can do that, and he can be that player for them. So great business from Utah. I know 3 second-round picks. A lot of people will point to that price.
They were listening to the podcast.
They were. They must have been. So, yeah, good on them. If you think the price is high, look at some of the other trades today. I'm here to tell you it's not.
It's hard to get good players in the NHL. Like, you just got to give up a lot. And like,
it is. It's tough.
You don't know what you're going to hit with like second-round picks, right? Like you know what you have with Weegar.
You know, like Lane Hudson was a second-round pick.
I feel like I feel like I saw someone do a stat of like the last, I don't know, they went back a while and looked at even just end of the first-round picks and how often
sometimes they don't
hit.
even make the NHL.
It doesn't hit that often. So if you're a team like the Avs, and I think in the moment it's easy to, or a team like the, I don't know, who gave up some first-round picks to go get some people, like the Red Wings, for example. It's just like, it's hard parting with first-round picks, but it's not like other sports that first-round picks are more of a guarantee. It really is a lot more difficult at the NHL level for those back end of the first-round players to make the impact that you think of when you see the value that just the pick alone before the name is even put on it brings. So
at the end of the day, like the NHL, how the draft works, where it differs a little bit from other sports, is you're drafting players at 17, 18 years old for the player that they're going to become at 25. And a lot of times the players don't come into the league until they're 22. So much changes in that time. It's really hard to evaluate talent. So
little information.
It's a tough job.
It is. And I think we overrate that in this time of year where it's easy to get attached to picks and want more value for them because of what they could be. But knowing that not all of these guys turn out on a pretty consistent basis to be better than what you'd give or what you'd get for them. So let's move on to some losers now of the day. And let's start with you, Puck. Who do you want to touch on first? Do you want to touch on the Hurricanes? Just rip the Band-Aid?
You know what? You guys seem to be a little more passionate about the Hurricanes.
Okay. I'll leave that one for Jesse.
So I'll leave that for either of you. And I'm going to go with the team that I'm passionate about. And it's my friends over here in Toronto.
Oh, here we
go. The hometown team.
Here we go.
The Toronto Maple Leafs. And listen, every year there's promise for this team going into the trade deadline. But this year was unique because it was a different type of promise. It was, hey, we've been buyers for years. We're struggling this year. Now we have this unique opportunity to sell. We can sell Scott Laughton, a guy we gave up a first-round pick for last year. We can sell Bobby McMahon. He's surely going to get us a first-round pick. We can sell Oliver Ekman-Larsson, a puck-moving offensive defenseman who has a ton of experience in this league. Any playoff team would want him. They sold Nick Waugh for a first-round pick before the deadline, and we were thinking, wow, what a great start. The Leafs are going to walk away from today as the surefire winners of the trade deadline. They are going to get 3 first-round picks at least, maybe even 4. What do they come away with? Barely anything. You saw Scott Laughton for a 3rd-round pick. Player you traded for just a year ago for a first, who is a good bottom 6 centerman, who I think could be very valuable for a playoff team. The Kings grabbed him for a 3rd-round pick. Thought it was one of the better moves of the day. Bobby McMahon, seems like they caved on his value in order to get him out of there. They sent him to Seattle. So Who knows if they're going to be able to keep these guys for next year? That's one element of it. And then also, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, they just kept him. And I guess maybe they'll try to re-sign him. They did not get any trade value for him. So I think ultimately, when you look at the Leafs deadline in a vacuum, it's nice to get a first-round pick, a second-round pick, and a third-round pick, especially when you haven't been doing, you haven't had draft picks for years. But at the end of the day...
A fourth and a fifth, too, no?
Yes, those are also parts of the deal. So you came away with a nice haul of draft picks. Okay, it wasn't what we expected, but I don't know. My hope was they're probably not going to make these picks if they were all these first-round picks. If they got 3-4 first-round picks, you're probably looking at that and saying, all right, we got Matthews and Nylander. They're 28 years old. They're in their prime. Let's use these picks to make trades to get some big-time players so that we avoid this disaster of a season, so that next year we're back in the playoffs. We're back to being cup contenders and at the top of the Atlantic. And they just didn't do that. And I still don't have confidence that they're going to be able to turn it around for next year after today's deadline.
I don't disagree. And they hold on to Oliver Ekman-Larsson, who's got some value, obviously, and that's another name that was kind of thrown out there that you thought they might trade. And obviously, he's under contract for a bit, so it's not like they had to trade him right now. But again, if you were kind of selling they were selling, you thought he might be on the move as well. Yeah. Brad Treliving coming out and basically saying, like, yeah, there's roster issues here and roster construction issues. And I think you can be happy with some of the returns, maybe in a vacuum, but you also have to be like, you guys put yourself in this position in the first place. You traded a first for Scott Lawton. You did that to yourself.
How many points did he get for them, Jess?
16 total. He's a bottom six guy who will play some defense, and like I get that, but like I don't know.
You're hoping for more when you give up a first round pick for somebody.
For sure.
To at least get a second back for him.
For sure.
Trading a first just a year ago.
For sure.
Yeah. Who is one of your losers that you want to talk about? I know where you're going. Oh, I actually thought you were going Edmonton, but
I was going to. I
feel like we already have several rants.
I think we even posted a video about them. But
yeah.
So maybe check out that video if you're looking to see that.
You know what, guys? Honestly, and maybe I'll end up eating my words, and it's possible because Carolina has built a really good team, and maybe they just needed. Maybe this is just another year that they've grown together and they're once again having a great year. But what do we see from Carolina every year? We see that they make it to like the conference final or whatever, and then they come up short. They just don't have it. And I really felt like, you look at their center depth right now specifically, it's just not that deep. And I don't think that they are overly intimidating offensively, and I think that when they get to those deeper parts of the playoffs, they might run into the exact same issues that we've seen in past years. And I'm sure they checked it on a guy like Trocheck. I'm sure the Rangers asking price we're going to hear it was just ridiculous if it ever comes out. But I thought it was a missed opportunity for Carolina to upgrade their team in any way, and they didn't make nearly enough moves. I don't think that they're good enough as is to win the Stanley Cup right now. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they'll prove me wrong. But I don't think this team is much different than it has been in years past. So I'm saying they are absolutely a loser today in my eyes.
Yeah, out of all the contenders, they are the only one that didn't make a move, and it's out of character for Carolina, quite frankly. Every year they have some kind of swing that we all pretty much applaud universally.
Last year they almost tried too hard. They got out of their league going after Rantanen.
Maybe they
got cold feet. They got cold feet this year.
Maybe they got scared. Which is totally understandable.
I look at their center depth, and it's just not there. I just don't think it's there to win the cup. I really don't. And we'll see. Maybe they'll prove me wrong, but I don't know. I mean, I guess the East is a little more wide open this year with Florida struggling, but we'll see what happens.
We will see what happens. I'm not going to go Edmonton because I think in the grand scheme of things, they're not a loser of the day. I think they're like just how they've mismanaged contracts and trades and assets. And this is a long period of time. This is much longer. They've kind of built this bed and they're trying their best to get out of it and trying every little thing they can. We did post a video about our talk about the Oilers earlier in the day.
It's just me ranting.
It's just Jesse bright red screaming.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the New York Islanders, and I think it's for a lot of different reasons. They are in the playoff hunt right now. They are in a playoff spot in the Metro Division. It's an unexpected season in every regard. But as we kind of talked about coming into today, there's a reason we didn't really project them making a lot of trades. It's because we didn't want them to give up assets. We really didn't. And they did. And they did for a player that is 34 years old, that is $6.5 million cap hit. Yes, you moved Drouin out of there, but the difference is $2.5 million that you're still on the hook for. You signed Pajot for another 4 years at just under $5 million. You're continuing to kind of double down on these veteran presences and keep this team a little older. And I think it blocks players like Cal Ritchie, who is playing 2C for you, from being able to properly develop potentially. That's a guy you gave up Brock Nelson for. That's a guy you got a first-round pick for, and you turn that first-round pick into Braden Shen now. I just think that when you add in the money that you could have spent on maybe more impactful free agents, the picks that you could have spent in a different way are actually used, quite frankly, because you need talent. Just because you had a few first-round picks last year and we all really liked your draft doesn't mean they're all going to hit. You are in a point right now where you've had a really great season, but don't let this be a prisoner of the moment thing that you have to make these moves and give up future assets to maybe make a playoff run this year that you're probably not going to win. Like, be realistic about your team. Your team is Ilya Sorokin right now. He's the Vezina winner, and if he falls apart down the stretch...
And Matthew Schaefer.
And if Sorokin falls apart down the stretch, you're not making the playoffs.
Yeah.
And now you're out another first-round pick, and yes, it wasn't your own, but that's a valuable asset to have, and that's... Why is Braden Shen there at that point? He's not producing like he was still. I get it, he's a useful player still. I'm not saying he's not, but I think there were better uses of your assets and your money, and I think the Islanders are just... They're feeling themselves a little too much right now, so I just want to... I think they've got a great future ahead of them. I think this was a little reckless, though. That's why I kind of consider them a loser. Any other losers that we want to go over before we move on to bigger picture winners? Because we got to talk about the Wild, and that's the team that I think we start that conversation with. Any other losers, though, that you want to mention?
Maybe should we each do two?
I don't think anything sticks out necessarily for me. Like, yeah, you can touch on Florida and their inability to truly become big sellers. Sounds like they want to actually re-sign Bobrovsky, so I wouldn't really grill them too bad. I think they're going to be very good next year when Barkov's back and they're fully healthy. The Rangers, yeah, they didn't move Trocheck.
Losers. Rangers are losers.
Yeah, but they don't need to move Trocheck. They can move next year. Their hands were not tied. He still has 1 year left. They'll be fine. We have the Sens in the D tier too, but that's just more so of just like, yeah, they just didn't really do much, and it's kind of a disappointing season so far in Ottawa. So I think in terms of, losers from today, I mean, Edmonton, like you said, is more of a big picture thing. So to me, I'm all good.
Maybe the Devils? Maybe the Rangers? Both
The Devils is just like, with how poorly the Devils have been this season, there's no possible way they could have a good deadline.
I get what you're saying.
Because like if they traded Nemitz, I probably would have been upset.
Could have traded Dougie Hamilton.
Again, the Devils have good pieces. They should be good next year. I think.
Yeah, I don't know.
They're frustrating. They definitely have a lot of issues.
And like, look, people say different stuff, and people say, "Oh, it's the team that they built in front of them. Their defense is bad." I still think the Oilers are losers for not. I just think going into the playoffs with Jari and Ingram is just not going to work out. But we'll see. We'll see.
Let's move on to maybe our big picture winners. We're taking all of the trade season into account, every move. Biggest winner, biggest loser in that sense. We've talked about these teams, so maybe we just kind of come to a consensus on the biggest winner. And as you can see, the Wild are at the best, so I think we should start there. Why are the Minnesota Wild, in our opinion, the team that has had the best trade season overall going into this playoff stretch?
I just think it's the fact that they acquired one of the best players in the NHL, and yeah, they had to give up a lot for it, but you have to tip your cap to Bill Guerin. Yeah. And he got ahead of it. He didn't let this deal linger by making this move in December. He's allowed for Quinn Hughes to come in and gel with players in Minnesota. he's allowed himself more time to build a relationship with Quinn Hughes and potentially see where his head's at in terms of, hey, do we need to go all out for other players to convince a guy like Quinn Hughes that Minnesota is the place where you want to spend the rest of your career? Because that is ultimately the goal for the Minnesota Wild over the next
It's like a
couple
cultural.
years.
It's like a cultural thing, man. Like Bill Guerin is making Minnesota a place that like he's building a winning culture, or he's trying to, and he's trying to like attract players and saying, hey, this is a winning organization. We're not hoping to win. Our expectation is going to be to win, and that's why we're going to go and we're going to get players to put us in a position to win. Hats off to him. We've never seen that from Minnesota before.
As much as it kind of pains me to say, because obviously the Avalanche built-in rivalry with the Wild, they have clearly turned this team around in so many different ways.
Yeah.
And the forward group looks completely different in the bottom six now. Fabry was a waiver pickup. You've got Bobby Brink now. You've got Michael McCarron now, who's probably going to play center, which is his more natural position. You've got Marcus and Nick Foligno waiting in the wings. Marcus Johansson is day-to-day, but should be back, and he'll play a big role in that bottom six. So it's one of the deepest forward groups in the NHL now. It's moves that were around the margins that didn't eat into any more assets. They did all this while keeping Wallstedt, which was another guy that I think, hey, they can move him at any time if they want, and really believe in Gustafsson if the right deal kind of comes around, but they'd be more than happy to keep him. And then Hughes is just kind of the cherry on top, right? Like he is 1A, 1B, 1C, depending on how many guys you think are the best defenseman in the league. But what he has done since he got to Minnesota has changed the way they've played, and he has just looked like the player that we saw when he won the Norris Trophy. It was a tough kind of ending in Vancouver for him, and I'm sure his play kind of fell a little because of that, but it hasn't fallen off in Minnesota, that's for sure. Overall loser for, I guess, the trade season, a team that was underwhelming that we haven't talked about. Is it a team like the Oilers? Is it a team like the Devils? Is it a team like the Sens? Is it... Yeah, I don't know where to really go from here, because I feel like we kind of did a great job with highlighting who the losers are. The Devils and Sens, we kind of talked about it, where they've just had bad seasons.
Yeah, it's not really their trade performances. They've just
you would have liked to see them do more.
I also don't hate the moves that the Oilers made. Like personally, I don't hate them, but I just don't like the Jari trade. Has not looked good, and maybe people are saying like, oh well, it was Skinner struggled in Edmonton, then he went somewhere else and he was good, and Jari was okay in Pittsburgh, and then he comes to Edmonton and struggles. But like, again, I think that they just haven't really addressed their crease the right way. But I think that if you actually look, what team failed to make their team better, it's probably Carolina.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah,
I think this is not the best part about the deadline, but a fun wrinkle that maybe we don't spend enough time talking about, because we just sat here for 9 hours on a live stream dissecting every single team, every single move, which team needs to add this, which team needs to do that, and we're sitting here talking about the Minnesota Wild as maybe the biggest winner of the trade season and the Edmonton Oilers being one of the biggest losers. Well, guess what? This is all on paper. Both these teams have a big 2-month spell, 3-month spell up and coming. And the Edmonton Oilers could very well be back in the Stanley Cup final.
absolutely.
For sure.
Although they might lose that final, and we might say, man, if only they added a goalie. And the Minnesota Wild, for all the praise we've just sent their way,
Could be out in the first.
they are facing a lot of pressure as a team that, one, has not won a playoff series in a long time, and two, has a concrete shelf life with Quinn Hughes and a tight window of like, man, we better win when we have this guy, because if we don't win, he probably won't stay.
Yeah.
And if we
Pressure's
do
on.
win, he might still not stay. So let's convince him that this is the place where he wants to be. I think they have a great chance to do it. I think they've done a phenomenal job, but they're going to face the Dallas Stars in the first round, which is just a terrible, terrible draw. That could honestly be a Western Conference final. That could be a Stanley Cup
It could be a Stanley
final.
Cup final.
It's awful
So-
that two of Colorado, Minnesota, or Dallas are going to be out of
Yeah.
the playoffs before the conference final, and we don't get that matchup when we
When it
should
means
get
more.
that matchup when it's warranted.
So I don't know. We'll have to see how the teams play. Not just the players they added, the full teams. So a lot of teams have done a lot of good work where they've gotten to the deadline and they necessarily didn't need to be in the headlines. Other teams have done that work and they went to the deadline today and they did even more to better themselves, like the Wild.
Let's, before we get out of here, talk about one player each that we thought was going to get traded that you were surprised didn't get moved. There were a lot of goaltenders. If you're looking at the trade bait board on TSN, there were quite a few players that didn't make it through the day, or made it through the day rather, without getting traded. Vincent Trocheck kind of at the top of the list. Robert Thomas. Colton Parayko was trying to be moved, but it obviously didn't happen like that. But those are some of the biggest names kind of in the top 10.
Trocheck was number 1, I think, on the trade.
He was.
He was.
So I'm going to go with Trocheck. I'm surprised that a team was not offering more for him. I think there were some really needy teams at center that I'm sure New York recognized that. But for New York to come away with nothing when teams were probably desperate and still probably throwing quite a bit their way, man, if I was a Rangers fan, I'm sorry, I'd be so pissed. Like, I'd just be so, like, they're just such a lousy team. They've got no direction. It's like, at least they
Sad.
don't. Yeah, like, what is Drury even doing? Like, I'm not an NHL GM, but, like, I don't know. You got to think, like, people are so mad with him right now.
Yeah, New York's, they're in a tough spot right now. I don't know if another letter's got to get sent out or
Oh my
something.
God.
I think
Not with
that
the
would be
letters.
the worst decision to do one more of those. But hey, go for it if you want, Chris Drury.
The thing is, two of the most intriguing names that I was watching were obviously Blake Coleman and Jordan Binnington, and both of them have a year left. The Binnington one, to me, is interesting because I feel like it is almost a guarantee that St. Louis will move him eventually. So maybe I'm not all that surprised that he wasn't moved today, but I imagine he'll probably get moved in the offseason. They'll try to get younger at the position, and they'll try to cash in on some of his value. Or if they're struggling again next year at this time, he'll be 33, he'll be an upcoming UFA, then I think they'll move him. But Binnington was one because of the needs at goalie with Vegas, with Montreal, with Oilers. I'd be curious to know which teams actually kicked the tires on Binnington and called St. Louis and said, okay, what's he going to cost? And if the cost was just astronomical, then I understand why he didn't get moved. But he was somebody that I was really intrigued about going into today.
Both great names to toss out. I think maybe one more to kind of just mention, I guess, is probably Jordan Binnington with the Blues as well. I think for goalie needy teams, that was someone that maybe people were kicking the tires on, especially after the performance we saw at the Olympics, where we said it when we got back. It was one of those things that the Blues can try and sell him in a way of like, hey, he's had a bad year with us, but like when the lights are brightest, you clearly saw it on that stage. He'll be playing for a better team, assuming he gets traded to a better team. But there were no real bites on that and no real news on that throughout the day either. So maybe it wasn't as real as some people wanted to make it out to be. Doesn't mean he won't get traded before next season because he's got some term, obviously. So there's still a possibility, but
Maybe Patrick Laine too is a name I kind of thought was maybe going to get moved.
Yeah.
Like he hasn't played all year. So.
There is risk, obviously, but
And if you're Montreal, like he might not crack their lineup in the playoffs, but he's a UFA and he's such a power play threat that it's like just keep him. If goals become hard to find, you can always just throw him in the lineup in the playoffs.
yeah.
I don't know. He's got such a good one-timer.
I wish Stamkos would have waived his no trade clause too. I think that would have been a fun sweepstakes to see who would have been interested in him because he's having a great bounce back year.